Sam Heughan and Caitriona Balfe secretly vacation at ancient Scottish castle. The autumn wind blew into the Scottish Highlands, carrying the scent of burnt grass, the smell of moss smoke, and the chill that one could only fully feel when standing in the wild nature. On the top of a quiet hill, among the ancient pine trees, Glenmiric Castle appeared like a fairy tale dream forgotten by time. There was no sound of traffic, no bright neon lights of the city. There was only the sound of wind whistling through the oak doors, the sound of wind touching the moss-stained glass windows, and the warm, red-hot fireplace inside the great hall. Sam Heughan stood leaning against the window frame looking out at the yellowing forest, a mug of hot whiskey in his hand. The wind blew his hair a little ruffled, his eyes distant as if reliving some distant memory. Behind him, light footsteps echoed on the wooden floor. Caitriona Balfe appeared, wearing a thick wine-colored sweater, her brown hair loosely falling over her shoulders. She smiled when she saw him deep in thought. Without saying anything, she quietly walked towards him, her eyes following the distant forest. "Do you always come to places like this when you need peace and quiet?" she asked, her voice as light as mist. Sam turned to look at her, his eyes gentle. "Yes, places like this, where time seems to stand still, and you can breathe without fear of being swept away." Caitriona smiled softly, her eyes shining with sympathy. "I understand," she said. "After all the chaos, this place is like a portal to another world, resurrection in silence." Glenmiric Castle was where they had filmed some interior scenes for Outlander, but this vacation was completely non-work related. It was a surprise birthday gift Sam had prepared for Caitriona, a week with no schedule, no interviews, no flashbulbs. One morning, it had begun to snow early even though it was only mid-October. Caitriona woke to the smell of lightly burnt toast, a familiar sign that Sam was trying to cook something. She walked down to the quaint kitchen with its low wooden ceiling and grey stone walls. Sam was fiddling with a pot of tea and a dish of mismatched but thoughtful omelettes. "Don't laugh," he warned, seeing her mischievous look. "I had to watch 3 YouTube videos to make this." "I won't laugh," Caitriona said, sitting down, taking a slice of bread, and laughing. "At least, you didn't burn the pot this time." They ate breakfast together in the dim light of the morning mist, the crackling of wood in the fireplace like the silent heartbeat of the old castle. Unfinished diary pages. One afternoon, while cleaning out the old library, Caitriona came across an old diary hidden in a wall niche. The pages were yellowed, the delicate handwriting in black ink still clear. It was the diary of Lady Elspeth, the former owner of the castle, chronicling her years of war and her ill-fated love for a soldier. She read it to Sam that evening, as they lay on the fur rug before the fireplace. Her voice was sad when she read the passage Elspeth wrote. "He said he would be back before Christmas. But that winter was colder than any other." They were both silent, the atmosphere heavy. Sam reached out and took her hand. "That story." Caitriona hesitated, like something we'd acted out, lived, but this time it was real. Sam squeezed her hand gently. "Maybe, sometimes old stories still want to be told through people like us." The night in Glenmiric was long and strangely quiet. After reading Lady Elspeth's diary entries, Caitriona still couldn't sleep. She put on a woolen cloak and quietly walked out into the long stone corridor that led to the North Tower, the highest point of the castle. From there, she could see the entire snow-covered forest, the moonlight reflecting off the thin layers of ice covering the trees like fragile crystal. Sam saw her leave, put on another woolen cloak and followed. They stood together in silence. Their white breaths mingled in the air. "I used to think, if it weren't for Outlander, would we ever have met?" Caitriona asked, her voice as light as the wind. Sam chuckled. "I think, we'll always find each other, somehow." whether in the 18th century or the 21st. She turned to look at him, her eyes shining with something deeper than words. Maybe that's what they call connection. No definition needed, no name needed. They stood like that for a long time, letting the wind blow through their hair, letting time pass as if nothing had ever rushed. The unsent letter. The next day, the snow was heavier, the castle seemed buried under a blanket of white. Sam and Caitriona decided not to go outside, instead spending the day filled with conversation and memories. In the attic that had once been Lady Elspeth's room, Caitriona opened an ancient wooden chest. Inside, she discovered a stack of love letters that had never been sent. The letters were handwritten, with faded ink, the words of a woman waiting for a soldier who would never return. Do you think she regretted it? Loving someone so deeply? Caitriona asked as they sat reading the letters by candlelight. Sam didn't answer right away. He looked into her eyes, deep, sad, but sparkling as if there was something that wanted to be revealed. I think, unrequited love hurts, but unspoken love hurts more, Sam said softly. Caitriona turned away, but her voice trembled slightly. Sometimes I wonder, what if things were different, if we weren't in the spotlight, if we were normal people? What would things be like? Sam looked at her for a long time. Then maybe, we wouldn't have hesitated. Answer in the snow. That night, the snow was heavier than ever. The electricity had been cut off by the strong wind, and the castle was bathed in candlelight and the warmth of the fireplace. Together they cleaned up, lit more wood, and made a pot of hot soup on the old coal stove in the main kitchen. When everything was settled, they sat by the fireplace in the great hall. The room echoed with the crackle of burning wood, the firelight reflecting off the ceiling, casting their shadows on the wall like two ghosts from the last century. Sam pulled a small wooden box from his coat pocket and opened it silently. Inside was a simple necklace, a silver ring in a round pendant, just like a prop from Outlander, but this was the real thing. Caitriona fell silent. I didn't mean to do this the normal way, Sam said, his eyes fixed on her. Not on the red carpet, not in front of the cameras. It's just, if there was any place to say this, it's here. He didn't kneel. He didn't need to. I don't need an answer right now. I just want you to know, that whether in movies or in real life, whether Jamie or Sam, you're the only one I. His voice choked. Caitriona squeezed his hand. She said nothing. She just leaned over, resting her forehead on his shoulder, and let the first tear in years fall silently onto his hand.